So who was your first kiss, Anne?
Oh, this is funny because my parents are here and they don't know this story. It was in 8th grade, Rodney Ruddick. I had actually asked him out in 6th grade and he said no, and I asked him out in 7th grade and he said no. And then in 8th grade, we actually lived in a hotel, and because my dad worked for a hotel industry, we lived in Greece, which is really cool. But my friend Missy was over for the night. My parents were out, my brother was out, and she called Rodney and said, come over. And so he came over, and then she's like, I'm gonna go get some Cokes. And she went out. Now, I don't know, it didn't occur to me that, where would you go to get Cokes in, I don't know, she rode up and down the elevator while Rodney gave me my first kiss. And that's all that happened, sorry, Mom.
That's all that happened.
Yeah.
We'll take your word for it.
Yeah. See? Great.
Thank you, Anne. Everyone, Anne Bonny.
Thanks.
Oh, that's funny.
Thank you. As I walked into the trendy Astoria bar, I had the usual simultaneous feelings of dread and optimism. Online dating is a way to meet people. Most of the online dates I've been on so far have been pretty disappointing. Not bad, but not good. And every single first online date is a little bit of Russian roulette, so you're never quite sure what you're going to get. Hence, my dread. But my philosophy was that if I was online, and I'm relatively intelligent, relatively attractive, relatively normal, relatively interesting, there had to be a guy that was similarly endowed with positive characteristics on there looking for me. So, I was optimistic. Now, it was a really lonely time in my life, and at 41, I was concerned that it was over, and that I was going to have to get a large floral dress and a bunch of cats. But despite 2 failed marriages, I still held to that Disney-inspired romantic notion of true love and soulmate, and someday my prince will come baloney, so I kept looking. So I go into this bar with, of course, the thought in my mind, tonight I may meet the man that I spend the rest of my life with. So I walk up into the bar, sit down, and start chatting up the waiter, who asks, what I'm doing. I said, I'm here on a first date. When he asked if we met online, I said, yeah. He said, I'll buy you a double, and good luck, and rolled his eyes and walked away. Like, oh boy, here we go. So in walks Brian, and I see him across the bar and instantly recognize him, and a little shimmer goes under my skin because he was adorable. And and he smiles and walks over. He was tall and manly, and he had a smile that looked like he was comfortable in his smile. And that was really nice, so I smiled back. As he got to the table, I stood up and, went to greet him, and he gave me a big hug, a nice warm hug that was really comfortable. Sometimes on the first date you get the handshake, which is just awkward. So he just gave me it was just a wonderful way to kick off the date. So we sat down, conversation started. He was a chef, and he had told me online that his job, his business, was cooking for TV and movie sets. So of course I was fascinated. He had a ton of great stories, including a lot of stories about big names that he had cooked for. He had cooked for Christopher Walken, and he actually did a really good Christopher Walken impression about him ordering eggs every single day the same way for 2 months. So that was pretty funny. And apparently Beyonce said he was cute one time. And I can't repeat the stories about Alec Baldwin, so we'll just leave that one alone. But generally, it was interesting, and I was fascinated. I had tons of questions. And of course, who doesn't want to date a guy who can cook, right? So then he turned the attention on me, asked for a few of the details that I had on my profile. And we got into the comfort, and the conversation was flowing, and it was intelligent, and it was wonderfully two-sided, and it was just going really well. We talked about his divorce and my divorce and his kids and how we were rebuilding our lives. And it was comfortable and honest and genuine. It was a little heavy, but not in an uncomfortable way. It was just easy. And it was genuine and open and nice. It was just really nice. So as the waiter came over to bring our third cocktail, he commented that he couldn't believe that we were on a first date because it just seemed like we had known each other for a long time. And it really did seem that way. It was wonderful. So eventually the bar closed and we had to leave. And neither of us wanted the night to end. So I said, hey, I know this great lounge in my neighborhood. Let's go there. It's open till 5 a.m. And now, please note, this is New York City. There are probably 20 bars within a 2-mile or a 2-block radius of where we were that were open all night, right? But, of course, my intoxicated take charge kind of way, I say, hey, let's jump on the subway for 45 minutes and go to my neighborhood. So we did. He was up for the challenge, which of course I'm all about that. Any guy who's willing to go on an adventure on Tuesday night at midnight is my kind of guy. So we bundle up. It was about this time of year, and we head out. In Astoria, the subway platform is outside, and it's a raised platform. So we're standing there in the cold wind, shaking and waiting and laughing and talking. And finally I'm like, come on, train, I'm freezing. And so he grabs my arms and pulls me over to him and wraps his jacket around me and snuggles me all up in there. And he's quite a bit taller than me, and I was all sheltered from the cold, and it was nice and warm, and it was just a nice, comfortable feeling. And I looked up at him, and he gently kissed me. And we had that moment where you stop about an inch away from each other after a wonderful kiss. And you have that breathless moment that you're just totally in that instant. And you hope it's never going to end, but you're wishing for another kiss. And I did get that kiss, just of course as the train comes rushing into the station. So we hop on the train, and we're that annoying couple. Okay, we're laughing and kissing, and we're all together and adorable. And I'm all giddy because I'm always jealous of that couple. And I'm always like, I want to be them, and all of a sudden that's me, and I'm kissing a boy, and it's so much fun, and everything's going great, and it's comfortable, and then all of a sudden, everything changed. I looked at him, I said, Brian, I gotta pee. I gotta pee bad. Aside from the 3 cocktails that we'd had, I probably had 4 big glasses of water, and I thought of going to the bathroom before I left the bar, and I don't know why, but I didn't. We were 25 minutes from where we were going, and, this was a problem. I wasn't going to make it 25 minutes. It's not like there's a bathroom on the train or in the station. I gotta go. Finally, Brian says, I know. And he explains that the next stop on the subway is the Port Authority bus terminal, and he knows where the bathroom is. And then he pauses cautiously and said, is that okay? Now, all I heard was, there's a bathroom there. I was like, oh yeah, that's just fine. In fact, it's not going to be okay any other way. I cross my legs, and I wait for the next stop. As soon as the doors open, we shoot out of the train, we run through the station, bang through the turnstiles, zoom down the foyer. We're passing people. Some are sitting down, some are standing up, some guys dancing. But I was on a mission. There was only one thing that mattered. Every step was painful, but running was really the only option because the clock was ticking on my bladder's ability to hold on. So we were running, and all of a sudden Brian goes, there it is! And he points past the food court, past the guy that's mopping and the other guy kind of leaning. And all I saw was the light from heaven shining down on the most beautiful bathroom I'd ever seen. Be right back, and I go zooming off to the bathroom. I'm fumbling with my pants before I'm even in the door. The female custodian is dying laughing at me, and I'm like fumbling to get in. I fumble with the door, and the lock is broken. I don't care. I made it. And I close my eyes, and just a rush of relief floods my whole body. I take a deep breath, and as I open my eyes, it occurs to me where we are. The Port Authority bus terminal is the gateway to New York City for anybody who can't afford a car or a subway or the Amtrak train or a cab. It's also a great place to spend the night if you can't afford a hotel or a cardboard box, or if you're not sure where you are, or if you're not sure who you are. So needless to say, it ain't the Ritz, and I'm sitting on the seat reading about who to call for a good time, complete with a drawing, and potentially the man of my dreams is standing outside waiting for me as I'm contracting an incurable skin disease by sitting on the seat. Okay, so I finish up and I try to get out of the stall without touching anything. I contemplate rinsing off my butt cheeks in the sink, but the thought that somebody probably does that on a regular basis I was like, okay, we get out to leave the bathroom without touching anything, and walk out into the food court, and there's Brian, and all the crisis and the parasites just fall away. I dramatically breathed a sigh of relief, and he smiled that smile, and I went running up to him and gave him a big kiss, which turned into a bigger kiss. And I'm not sure when my feet hit the ground, but it was after a little bit of spinning, both literally and in my head. And he sets me down and puts his arm around me and says, let's go. And we walked out of the bus terminal, got back on the subway, down to my neighborhood, to the lounge that was open all night for one last drink. Now, I'd love to tell you that he was the man of my dreams and that we're having our happily ever after right now. Unfortunately, that's not the case. We did spend a few wonderful nights together, and we had a great time. Just didn't work out. Nothing dramatic. He didn't have a wife or Bobby's in his basement or anything. It was just not our time. But that 55 minutes on the subway and running through the bus terminal was some of the most romantic. It was the most romantic time I ever spent during my time in New York City. It wasn't, you could say that perhaps I need to raise my standards when a painful jaunt through the most disgusting public space in the city is my most romantic time. But in the end of the day, we were together. We were just connected and together and in the moment. And when I needed him to be, he was selflessly committed to getting me what I needed at that exact moment. The location didn't matter, and the activity didn't matter. It was two people who were connected and together at a time when those two people really needed that. And it was beautiful. And while I'll probably never see Brian again, those 55 minutes are about one of the most romantic times of my whole life. Thank you.